And we're starting off this episode as well with laughter. At least we're starting that way. So that's good, guys. Welcome to the Cosmic Adults. And I think we're going pretty directly into this because Mercedes
Yeah.
Mercedes has a pretty awesome story.
Okay, well, let's not put it on a pedestal. It's an average story, I would say, but it was about the worst date of my life. And it was recently. Like, I used to, obviously before I was in the relationship, I was dating and all this stuff, and I've never had a date this bad in my life. In my whole life. So basically, what I do when I go on a first date is like, I go for a walk with the person, and like either that's coffee or just like a walk. So that, in where I live, there's a walk that you can do that you can kind of turn around at a certain point or keep going. So I'm like, oh, this is a good place to turn around if it sucks, or keep going.
I have to say something. Can I say like a really tiny thing? I'm just
Yeah.
for all the guys out there, I'm just like, I'm feeling you, bros. I'm feeling you, bros. You're going through some things that are very hard to go through. Ladies are putting a lot of, the bar is high. And yeah, I just feel you guys. Yeah, please continue.
Yep, sure thing. So freaking, it was like later at night, and this guy lived about an hour away in like the main city. So like there's a main city where I live, and then I live in a kind of like smaller town about an hour away. And I'm obviously Canadian because it's an hour away. I don't talk in kilometers. We talk in time.
Jesus freaking an hour? I wouldn't even consider going on a date. Like hour? Jesus freaking Christ, what the hell is happening?
So he drove from the other city to me, and I was like, it's up to you what you want to do. And it was just sort of like a spur of the moment thing. And we meet at this place, and I see him, and I'm like, okay, so he looks like his pictures. That's the first thing. I'm like, okay, good. Not catfish shit. So we start talking and walking, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, geez. So where at this one place, there's these cool little sound circles. So you can go in those, and if you clap, it like does this cool reverberation thing. And so he goes in it, and I kind of stand like a little close to him, but not really. And I was like, and then he's like, come here. I was like, oh my God. So like aggressively, okay, plot twist, he's an Aries. I was like, oh, what the fuck am I doing? So anyways, he does that, and he claps really loud, like right close to me. So I hear that thing happen, and I was like, okay, all right. And then we started walking, and basically, if I were to sum it up, he grilled me about why I don't drink the entire time, but not in a way that was like, oh yeah, I understand. It was like, why do you abstain? I was like,
abstain.
That's an aggressive word.
That's a very aggressive word. I would say I'm tending to now come to your camp more, because that's a very aggressive word.
Why do you abstain? And then I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I have lots of reasons. Like, spirit. At first, I'm like, I don't really think of it as abstaining. Like, it's not something that I want and am pushing away. I'm just don't want it. So, and then, well, do you eat processed sugar? Do you drink caffeine? I'm like, you don't get it. Like, you just don't get it. And then one of my pet peeves is like, I work with a lot of people who are in pain, and I'm talking pain, like chronic pain, really, really, really heavy pain in their bodies. And this guy's like, oh yeah, I have chronic pain in my ankle. And I'm like, and he's like, oh yeah, like I keep it together and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, you are so obviously faking this. Like I see people in pain and you are not in pain, buddy. And anyways, it turned out we had some mutual connections. And so I called my buddy and I'm like, hey, you know this guy, hey? And he's like, I think so. I was like, hey, look him up, blah, blah, blah. And my friend's like, oh, this guy, what the? I was like, okay, that's all I need to know. Goodbye, never to speak again. So then I messaged him on the app that we met, and I was like, hey, nice to meet you, but don't think it's gonna work out. And then he's like, oh well, yeah, I definitely will, I agree, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, sorry, I know you liked me, and now you're feeling sad about being rejected. But it was the worst. That was the worst. I feel like that's pretty tame for being the worst, but also like it was like I didn't really necessarily want to be grilled when going out for a nice evening walk. It was like there was no real conversation past that.
I still feel you guys. Like, for me, I just need to start with that because it's like in today's world, like, I'll just start over. I don't know even where to start because it's wild.
I want to give one thing. So if you're the guy that I went on the date with and you're listening to this, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is my perspective.
This is the thing. It's like you know, in the olden times, I don't know how, when I used to date, you know, you could still see
olden times.
You could still see, you know, mutual friends and connections, but like I personally, I didn't even want to look at those things. In a lot of ways because I wanted to get to know the person. That was because you know, like if you call a other person and you get their perspective of that person, you know, that's a little bit tainted in my book. And obviously you can do that, but guys, I just feel you for you. It's like, you know, the online, everything is online.
He reminded me so much of this guy I dated a long time ago. And the reason why I ended up breaking up with that guy was because he parked. This was the final. What do you call it? What do you call it when it's
straw?
like
Final straw?
Yeah, the straw that broke the camel's back. So he had a car that was a Subaru that was like this high off the ground, like lowered. Like, and I don't know why I was like thinking that would be cool, but whatever. He parked in a handicap stall, and I was like, why are you parking here? Like, there's a spot like right over there. And he's like, oh, we're just going in for really quick. What are they going to do? Tow us? And I was like,
okay, so that's
not the point.
That's a game changer for me as well. I was like,
yeah. So it was the same energy as that.
Okay.
And I was like picking up on this. I'm like, I think that, you know, not that you would do that specifically, but I was like, I think you're that type of a person.
Okay. I was getting these stories from the streets. It's
literally from the street.
Literally from the streets. It's yeah. I'm happy I'm not in that game anymore. And if I was, I wouldn't care. I would play it, you know, just as I would play it. I know the game has changed and people have changed.
For me, I just want someone that I can talk to, you know, and if I get grilled for like one tiny little, mostly uninteresting thing about me, I'm like, that's just, you know, there's so much more depth that can be achieved. It's not satisfying to me to be talking and always trying to explain myself. It's like you kind of got to just get me and then we can discuss things. It's like, yeah.
I totally get it. I totally get it. So dating tip for all the guys out there. You want to date Mercedes. Don't start grilling her about anything basically. Just have a conversation. But I don't think that applies only to Mercedes. That applies to most people, most ladies, most men. For me as well, I don't like to be grilled about these things. If you're curious, let's talk.
Ask questions for sure. Talk. I mean, yeah, have an open discussion for sure. But just like when you have your agenda already in your mind and you're going poke, poke, poke. And I like that. No one likes that. Who likes that?
Yeah, that's. I don't know why I'm feeling so like.
Which I know. So, which brings me sort of into my next point, which is like, you know, I don't always want to be talking about dating on this fucking podcast. Like,
You have to.
but it is my
You have
life
to.
right now. So it's sort of like this like pinnacle thing. And it's teaching me so much about
Exactly.
myself, what I like, what I don't like, and you know, how much I'll tolerate at this point in my life. What is a good thing for me, what's not, blah, 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 blah. Oh shit, I totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I want to say that one of the things that's been coming up for me a lot is actually safety, you know, and because when, and I don't want to make a bold blanket statement here, but like when men go on a date, you're not worried about, you know, being harmed physically. You're not worried about that. You're focused on the date. Women are like, is this my last night on earth? I don't know. Could be. So you really have to tune into your danger meter as far as how safe you are. And really, I don't know. I mean, coming from a spiritual perspective, I'm always praying and going like, okay, like if I'm in a dangerous situation, you know, get me out, angels, and make sure that I'm safe, make sure that this is like, you know, okay. And I'm really tuning into my intuition as far as whether I should go or not. And I've really let go of what, like, I'm going there now going, do I like this person? Not, I want to get this person to like me. It's a very different experience. And I'm like, it's not that I'm coming in it in a negative sense or already with filters up. Like I'm very open to allow that person to be who they are. I want to know who they are. And I'm also like, will this fit in my life and the life that I want? It's like, I'm not going to make myself small and fit in someone else's life. Like my life is what it is. And I want someone to walk beside me.
Totally. I'm just curious. Let's say if that life of the other person is, you know, it fits the bill in many other, you know, most things, you know, they abstain, for example. But anyway, you know, they don't drink and, you know, some of these important things to you. But maybe they have, you know, I don't know. Where's the line there? Basically is what I'm asking, like, because the reason I'm asking is you don't want a person who is, you know, a twin to you or an identical to you. You want to grow and you want to learn. So where's the line for you personally there?
I think that there just has to be a willingness and an openness to evolve their soul to the highest place. And it doesn't mean that I would just cut someone out just because of one minor thing, you know. It would be many, many things. It would be many, many warning signs. It would be, you know, also communion with my spirit team and their spirit team. And like, is this actually correct? Like, I wouldn't want to like alter someone's path and be like, oh, you have to be like me and alter their path. I don't want that. I want someone that I can see and support and help grow and blossom into, you know, whatever their highest path is. And I think it would be my willingness to want to put in the work on that, as well as their willingness to put in the work on that. Because it's not an easy road. It's incredibly rewarding. And as we talked about, our word was rich. It's an incredibly rewarding path. And I want someone who understands how rewarding it is and wants to do that.
Can get it. I think I get it.
It's not that it's like these little nitpicky things. I'm not Virgoing it up, but I'm like, you know, big picture, someone I can rely on, like how we talked about before, where it's like someone I can rely on who actually wants to change and wants to grow, and not just for me, but for themselves too, primarily actually.
Mm-hmm. Someone who is curious about life and wanting to experience it and
yes,
understand it on a deeper level.
Yeah, and asks similar questions to me. You know, like, are you curious about this stuff also? Because I'm fucking insanely curious. Yeah. And a lightness and funniness. Please be funny. Please want to joke. Anyways.
Okay, guys, if you're out there and you fit the bill, our email address is cosmicadults@gmail.com. And subject line Mercedes should be when you contact.
Sufficient. That will get my attention. Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Yep. Ask Mercedes out. So that much about the dating streets, dating life. Yeah, it's funny to me hearing these stories, and it's I'm almost like living a little bit vicariously, like, so this is what the youngins are like jousting away at the streets of love, at the streets of love.
It's exhausting, and I mean, I deleted everything. Now I'm like,
again.
I did, yeah, again.
Okay.
I mean, it was mostly to focus on one person, you know, who I do actually like and care about.
And now it's out there.
Moving on.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure what to talk about here. I'm just like happy.
Well, I mean, whatever you want to talk about, just don't grill me on why I'm staying from alcohol.
I promise I won't.
Thank you. Wow.
This is the first time this has happened.
How quick! This is the first time we're having a lull. Okay, well, let's see what the universe wants to bring through. Do I have a question for Ian? Yeah, maybe we'll put you in the hot seat.
Well, of course, let's do it. I love being in the hot seat.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you
the chart is a big pile of fire. I do
Only
know that.
fire.
Was there anything that we were talking about lately that was like... Shit, Ian, what the hell? What the hell? Normally I have millions of questions for you, and I just want to know like all these things. And what's okay? Can I ask you a question? Like, it's going to be a biased question though.
Obviously.
What's your favorite sign? Like, what's your favorite
astrological sign?
Astrological sign.
Obviously, it's Libra. I think it's Libra in a lot of ways, because Libra is in the middle. Libra understands everything. If Libra energy is used, Libra understands every other sign. Libra understands, proper Libra energy understands every other sign's perspective. So that's one of the reasons why Libra is my favorite. I am a Libra ascendant, by the way. So it is a biased answer as well.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
I think I think we all sort of tend to, you know, have bias towards our own signs because I'm that way too. If you ask me, I would say, you know, Scorpio or Pisces because I love
I can make
that.
arguments for every sign, but I think that argument that I made for Libra actually holds some merit in a big, like a court case, which is also a little bit of Libra there. You know, this is one of the reasons why I love Libra energy. It's its capacity to go into other perspectives more easily. The danger here lies in, you know, getting lost in those perspectives. So not knowing who you are and not understanding that. But the if we had a little bit more Libra energy, I would say we would be more considerate of others, more understanding of others. We would find more common ground with others and each other.
I have a question that just popped into my head for you. What was it that like has made you shift? Maybe I don't want to say away from the astrology because I do think that the astrology is very important. But what was it that like, and it doesn't have to be recent as well, but what shifted you into seeing bigger, like in asking bigger questions? Was astrology part of that? Or like asking questions of the universe? When did that start?
Interesting question. Like very specifically asking questions. I think it happened around that time when I got into astrology. A little bit maybe before that time. Very tiny bit. But it was a relationship. It was literally a romantic relationship with a lady. And she really opened my eyes around these subjects. Although now my understanding of these things is very, very different than what she had. But she at least opened it up for me. And that's where it started. And
do you have advice?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was wondering, do you have any advice for the young men of today that are going out and dating astrology chicks?
Don't give them your birth data. That's the number one. Literally, number one. Don't give them your birth data. Whatever they say, lie. I don't have it. You know why? You know, I'm literally so against it. I told you.
Yeah, I know.
I know. And you still like it.
I got the lecture. I still fucking do it. Yeah, I got the lecture. Yeah, read the book.
You can fucking distort your perception of a person really quickly. And you're like, I even, you know, I'm part of forums, astrological groups, spiritual groups. People on there like, oh, I have this guy on synastry, and oh, we have this, and then blah, and it's like, people haven't. Have you gone on a date? Have you talked to them? Calm the fuck down.
Would you like it if they thought that about your chart?
Exactly. Put away the fucking charts and go and have a conversation. Go and have a cup of tea. Take it to the streets. And then maybe 3 months in, look at the charts. If you're still dating them. Otherwise,
I hereby solemnly swear I will never do that again.
I think it will serve you. It will serve life.
What about just the sun sign?
It's like an addict. It's an addict. It's like an addict of like, oh,
I need to know.
Just one more pill. Come on, give it to me. Just a sun sign.
Okay.
Let me sniff it in. Oh yes. Oh, we're so compatible. I mean, it's crazy. You know, it's crazy in a sense because people are making big decisions off of a sun sign. Please stop. Please don't do it again. Please go talk to each other. You know, see if there's chemistry. See if there's something going on there. Live life a little.
Well, isn't it just so funny to me? Isn't it like you want to understand yourself the most, more than anyone else?
I think that's that's a really good thing to say, what you just said. And I think astrology can be used beautifully for that and exceptionally well for that. Again, there are some dangers of oh, I am this sign, so I can't change, but we've talked about this before. But like generally, you want to know yourself as much as you can before you go on a date or you know, like you have those very specific things. You know, I know this, I want this, I want this. And this is, if this is happening, not for me. If that is already, you're there, it's, you know, in some way it is harder because it's harder to find that specific person, but at least you know and you're certain of what you want. So you're not going to take less, and you're going to do, you're going to save time for yourself and you're going to save time for the other person. Because there's no, oh, please love me, oh, I'll change myself, and then, you know, you're there 10 years later, like, I don't know who I am, I'm not like this at all.
That was kind of the pact that I made myself. I was like, I'd rather be alone for the rest, like, and this is truly honest, like, I'd rather be alone for the rest of my life than be with someone that is not right for me, that fight all the time for anything. Like, I don't want to fight. I just want to live, and I want to live well and happily. And I can do that on my own. So it would have to be someone that would enhance me, you know? And obviously the support would be in return too. It's not like I'm just selfishly like, I have a lot to give. I'm not slouching.
I think that's also, again, an important thing, because I think it's easy, a little bit easier maybe for the women to receive. You know, it's a more like a feminine trait usually. You know, it's more like common that a woman can receive a little bit easier. So, but it's like a man, when you go into a relationship with a man, you need to receive that as well. Yes, your role in a lot of ways is to give and to put the energy into the relationship, I would say. But you need to receive as well. You need to receive the love, and you need to be able to accept the love. And if you can't do that, it's also very, very hard to be in that relationship. I think that's a really important thing.
One thing that I want to say, this is me taking stuff to the streets.
Nice.
So maybe not astrology per se, but when I watch people in relationships and I see like one person wants the things to go forward or whatever, and things are not progressing forward quickly or happily or anything, that means that both people in that relationship are not agreeing. There's an energy there that's creating friction that maybe they can't get past it, but at least at that point they haven't gotten past it. Because when two people really love each other and they're in that partnership and things are progressing forward in the way that they both want, that means they are agreeing. Like I will take your example about your move. Like that happened so quickly. You guys just were like, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But you know, and I mean, obviously I'm not there in the conversations, but I assume like, it was like, hey, I'm proposing this. What do you think? Da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden you're like, bam, doing it.
Yes, I think you touched many right now topics that I think are crucially important in a relationship, be it business or pleasure. And one of those things is open your fucking mouth and talk about these things. Like this is, I just want to say that one more time to really sink it in.
Can we add, open your mouth and talk about it honestly?
directly.
Don't, from your heart, how do you actually feel?
Yeah, totally. And I think it's one of the, if not the only, it's like this is where everything starts and begins. If this is not there in the relationship, I don't know how you're doing it, because it will most likely come to again a crescendo or a big place of people don't even know what they want. And most likely, if you're not communicating, it will come to a place where one person has suppressed their desires or wants and needs for a really long time.
Yeah.
And
That makes me sad, you know,
it makes
that
me
makes me
really
really
sad.
sad. Because it's like that should, I mean, it's happened to me, but even watching it in people, it's like, fuck, ouch.
It's really bad, and there are many reasons why this happens. People are afraid of, one of the big, actually the main reason for this is people are afraid to lose love. They're afraid of losing that people, which mean, or the person, and that means I'm losing love, or in the brain the belief is I'm losing love.
We're gonna say love in quotation marks because it's not love. If
It's not
that.
love. It's not love. It's actually,
Love is,
the energy you're getting there isn't actually the thing that you're seeking or desiring truly. It's just it's an addiction. It's totally an addiction.
that was literally the word that was in my head. It was like addiction, emotional addiction.
But a couple of things here again, just guys, really simple. Like I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago or something. Like every week, come together, even if it's for 30 minutes, an hour. Like, what are we doing? Where are we going? How do you feel? How do I feel? Like, are we happy? Are we unhappy? What do you think? What do you feel? These are very simple things that need to be discussed if you're going to be in a relationship.
And you have to be honest. You have to be 100% honest with how you feel. So if you, I mean, yeah, you just need it. And it's like a clue. If you're doing these conversations, you're having them and things still aren't progressing forward, that means that you're not in agreement still.
Yeah, totally.
Because once the energy matches, then that will manifest. It will happen. It will move.
Yeah, and this is one of the things how we make decisions, and maybe I want to bring that in because you brought that move of our relocation move for us in, was we were going back and forth in our those talks, and I made it in that moment when we made the decision. I made it really clear what our options are. And this was practical. Like, if we do this, this will happen. If we do this, these are the potentials. If we do that, these are the main ones. If we choose, we choose. We choose and we do this. We commit to this. And sometimes you have to kind of lay it out on the line, especially if it's like a practical decision. Because still, there are fears. Your spouse, your partner is going to have fears. You're going to have fears. You have to talk about these things. You're going to have to discuss these things honestly. And you're going to be in different spaces at times. But it's so important.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's totally okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
But the problem here is, to me, like, we're talking about something that is so almost seemingly obvious. It seems so simple, easy almost. So why is that people don't do it? Or if they do it, they maybe lie or scheme or don't speak honestly. It's still the same reason of if we it can be you know, distorted a little bit, like if we break up, if we disagree, you know, what it will mean to me, oh, social status, blah blah blah. But it's still, in the end, it's about losing or thinking that you're going to lose love.
And I also kind of want to bring in, because I have like a fair amount of trauma related education. If you're doing this thing, like if you're like, oh, if I disagree with my partner, they'll leave me. That's not a rational thought. I just want everyone to understand that. If you're always going to an extreme with every little thing, if it always goes to, oh, worst case scenario, that means you have some things inside of you that you need to resolve. That is, I mean, can't diagnose anyone obviously, but that's like PTSD thinking. That's really, really strong trauma like thinking.
Like if I do this, the worst possible thing basically can
Always
happen.
going to
Always
worst case,
the worst,
exaggerated, always. That's trauma. That's a traumatized brain.
Yeah, and if obviously, guys, if that's the case, you're going to need to, you know, literally, if you can't manage it on your own, if you can't, you know, get through it on your, you need to bring that to the table, and you need to have a partner basically who is accepting of that part of yourself and as well, because this is, I think, maybe the darker side of this. Why some people don't talk to each other is because there's no open space for that. So what I mean by open space is like, maybe, you know, usually it's harder for the men to have that emotional space to receive, you know, that maybe the woman comes in, oh, I'm not this, I like this, I would like to do that, and then the woman, you know, it doesn't happen only for men, it happens vice versa, it happens for women as well, but it triggers that fear again, and then the man usually goes into the defense mechanism of, oh, you know, everything is fine, you know, why are you talking about this, you know, and the space needs to be there, the trust needs to be there.
You think that there's maybe like a collective trauma amongst men about being seen as weak?
Definitely. I mean,
like there's like a,
that meant death for us. That meant ostracizing. You know, if you were perceived as weak in the Middle Ages, or even, you know, not even that long ago, nobody wanted you. You had no worth as a man in society. You might as well go die. Survival. Have to be strong. If I'm weak even for a moment.
So what I think is interesting is like weak does not equal, like vulnerable does not equal weak. And so I think that there's maybe a bit of a distortion in that of people thinking, men maybe, women too, but thinking that being vulnerable isn't a strength. I think being vulnerable, I mean, Brene Brown's work talks a lot about it, and being vulnerable is being courageous. That is a huge strength. And I think that the more people that can really lean into that and do that and be vulnerable, not in like necessarily like a crybaby way, but like in a real, like authentic, hey, this is the pain of my heart, you know, the more people that can do that, I think the more that will heal that collective wound. And it's like, you don't just do it for yourself, you do it for everyone.
Unfortunately, mostly I think you're right on the money. What I'm literally, because let's say, I'm mostly aware of it, but I'm a little bit inside, let's say, what is happening online. So what is happening right now online, from the very masculine dating scene movement kind of thing, self-growth type movement, is it's going to the opposite, and it's getting proof, you know, because, you know, there is a sense of, this is how I put it, if a man is constantly being vulnerable with a woman, like, you know, that's all basic their relationship is, they're most likely looking for a mommy, you know, they want a mommy there. But like, you know, there's a place to be vulnerable, to be, you know, courageously vulnerable and say like, this is what's happening to me, and there are situations you can do that, but it doesn't mean that you need to, you know, constantly be emotional and vulnerable, because that shifts the energy within the relationship. But what I'm seeing right now in that, you know, dating scene or whatever, coaching, I don't know how to call it exactly, is there material coming out right now where like these very like alpha and sunglasses dudes are saying like, you can't ever be vulnerable with a woman, and that's not true at all. That's not, if you're wanting to be in a committed relationship with a woman long term, you have times where you are vulnerable and where you are like, hey, maybe I'm struggling a little bit, I need to shift something, I need, you know, I'm feeling pain here, I'm working on it, but this is what's happening. It's you know, even that is being vulnerable. You know, I'm
And
going
that's
through
also
some
just
stuff.
being a balanced person. Like, I think even in like our business relationship, it's been, sometimes I'm like, fuck, dude, I can't do this. And you're like, okay, take a break. And the same goes for you too. Like, and we just be honest about it. I don't know. And I think like the more you do it, I think we're speaking a lot to people who are not practiced in it, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And, you know, it can be, it's really rewarding. Like, that's all. I mean, I think that's like generally the message from the cosmic adults is like, all this stuff is rewarding at the end. Like, it's rewarding. That's why you do it, because it enriches your life, and you feel more joy, you feel happier overall once you are in these situations of life that are just happier.
Yeah, it's I can give a little bit, tiny bit of advice or a tiny bit of practical thing that I needed to do before I could be vulnerable. I needed to accept the fact that this person, whoever I'm going to be vulnerable with right now, or who I'm going to express myself to, they can say, okay, I don't care, I don't want you in my life anymore, basically. Is I had to face that fear of abandonment, neglect, and, you know, them not just appreciating, loving me, or losing that, or perceived loss of love. If you can at the very least be aware of that, I'm a little bit afraid of this for yourself, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not honest, I can't be direct. I'm afraid this person is going to leave my life. You need to be a little bit aware first, and then already start to sink into that fear of, okay, this might happen, but I have to do it, and this is more important to me. And if you are there, or if you can get there, yeah, life will change. Relationship will definitely change.
I have a new question. How do you know when you're on the right path in life? Like, what are your signs?
Deja vu. Deja vu.
Yeah,
Deja
that's a
vu
good
is
one.
one
Yeah.
good one. I think it's maybe one of my main ones. It's like everything else is like, it can be a little bit distorted, you know. Can be a little bit distorted. Oh, I'm feeling good, I'm on the right path, or I'm, you know, doing good, you know. Everything's debatable.
Maybe not.
Maybe. But when I get a good sense of deja vu, I'm like, okay, must be the right. I literally, with this relocation, I think I've shared this with you in private. So I was like, what are we doing? This is crazy. We shouldn't be doing this. And I was constantly getting deja vu. So I was like, got here, another deja vu. Before, the deja vu. Okay, maybe. This is just like, okay, I'm on the right path. Need to surrender and accept that. I think that's my main one. Yeah. What about you?
I think it's just an overall feeling of happiness. deja vu, certainly. Whenever I have that, I'm like, oh, thank God. It's like such a relief.
Like a relief. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I did see this before. I have been here before. I'm doing it. Okay, great. I ask for a lot of signs too. Like, I'm like, oh, if this, then this. Like, often what I do sometimes is like, if it's like, let's say with a person, I'll be like, if I'm meant to like continue talking to this person about this, then get them to talk about, I don't know, palm trees. And if not, then get them to talk about islands. And it's just like, so then all of a sudden, if they'll all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, I saw this picture of a palm tree today, blah, 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 blah. I'd be like, oh, okay, sick. I'll carry on. And then generally I don't mention that I did that, but it's like, oh, okay, like these are my little, you know, they obviously channeled through, or their angels dialed them in to say that thing so that I knew, right? And stuff like that.
Interesting. I have never tried that one.
It's an interesting one because it's surprisingly, it works.
It sounds fun, even, I would say. It is kind of like an exercise of
Yes. The
curiosity.
last time I did it, I used pancakes and steak. It was like, if it's a no, talk about pancakes. If it's a yes, talk about steak. And then this person was like, oh yeah, steak, blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
okay.
All right. I gotta trust that. I created it.
That's a pretty interesting one, actually.
Yeah.
Nice tip. Pro tip from the Cosmic Adults.
Cosmic tip.
Okay. Are we going into the guidance part now?
I think so. It feels like it. So we're looking at the week of May 29th to June 4th. We're moving into June.
Jesus Christ.
Does that mean we're moving into like we'll be moving into what?
I think I think even last week we're already in Gemini season. Yeah.
Oh, we didn't even talk. Sorry, everyone. We
Sun
didn't like
sign,
really. Can I get just the sun sign?
Just the sign.
What about just the moon? Just the moon. Just the moon.
It's in like.
How about this? I'll send the birth data to you, and then you can just. I don't need to know.
I was like, no, thank you.
I'm kidding. Okay. So, do we all want to know? Are we on
we are in Gemini
edge of our
season now.
chairs?
From an astrological perspective, we have a couple of big events. We have the Mercury going direct.
Thank God.
We have new moon in Gemini, so we have a bit of a thing. We have Venus already entered Taurus as well into, or end of last week, so lots happening. I think the new moon is maybe the most important one. It's hard to say exactly what is the most important, because we're still having the Jupiter-Mars conjunction, where Mercury is a big planet for us in this Western society. So.
I mean, like, isn't the moon kind of like that day-to-day stuff, like the more cyclical events that are just like present in the daily life, whereas the other things are more overarching things?
Moon is definitely day to day, but if we're talking about, let's say for example, an eclipse, it's a bigger thing. If we're talking about a new moon, again, 2 weeks, it's just a regular new moon at least. But like the event started during the new moon or after the new moon, again, will give results even much more later than 2 weeks, you know? So, yes and no, so and so. It's kind, yes, mostly yes.
I'm just curious. I'm like, I don't know. This is how I kind of feel about it. Is that correct?
It's a very, very much because those emotional day-to-day fluctuations, these are very often from the moon. if the moon changes sign, if the moon has an aspect here and there, if the moon doesn't have aspects, again influences us very, very day-to-day kind of things.
Rapid fire weekly guidance.
Rapid fire weekly
All
guidance.
this will be posted on Instagram with more info, but I'm going to rapid fire it right now because that's just what I'm going to do.
That's just what
29th.
cosmic adults do. Rapid fire predictions.
We rapid fire. The 29th the 29th of May, the word is engage. Engage. 30th, superstition, which I thought was interesting. I will go more on that on the Instagram when the time comes. Tuesday, the 31st, giraffe. I just trust, okay? What I see in my mind is a giraffe, you know, the long neck, craning above, looking around. Yeah, makes sense, but yeah. On the 1st of June and the 2nd of June are very connected days. 1st of June, the guidance is ignore it. And then the 2nd of June is break free. So ignore the garbage, free yourself is what I feel for those 2 days. Friday the 3rd, frustration, but reward. So, you know, and that's kind of like bleeding that energy for those 3 days. It's like, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be, I mean, it's like all the time anyways, but there's going to be specific to you challenges that it's like, you have to find out where that friction is, let it go and free yourself. And then the 4th, we're talking about practice. Practice, not the game. Practice.
Practice, guys. Come on.
Do you know what I'm referring to?
For me, it's like I'm kind of in my own world with this, I guess. But you can go ahead.
Well, I definitely get points then because it is a reference to a meme.
Meme.
It's like that basketball player. I think it's Allen Iverson or something, and he's like he's like, we're talking about practice, not the game. But the word is practice.
Can't even remember. AI, come on.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you, and then you'll be in with the cool kids.
Can't believe
Finally.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a basketball one, so I feel like you should.
Like
I'm a little
2 points.
I'm kind of concerned that I know it and you don't. Like, it's actually like a little, ooh, yikes.
Yeah, but if it turns out that it's not a basketball player, then it's no points. It's negotiating. Negotiating.
Just to return to my prior topic, I am terrible at sports.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Are we doing rapid fire new moon predictions?
It's gonna be up to you, Ian. If you feel like gifting us with your rapid fire predictions for the new moon, I think we would all be very grateful.
This is an interesting new moon. We're having it in Gemini. We're having it very close to the fixed star Aldebaran, which is a little bit to do with, more a lot to do with, you know, more outside, we can say fame and fortune, more public things in that sense. A little bit of more of a fortunate undertone to this fixed sign, so that's good considering we're coming, you know, from the more difficult still Scorpio eclipse. Now we're finally having a new moon in a more of an optimistic placement. We have the new moon itself in a Jupiterian term by Egyptian terms, again a little bit more optimistic. So I mean, this year I'm very skeptical of using the word optimistic or good. Like everything is quite heavy, guys. We're at downward place of the cycle in human society. In astrological terms, we're in the thick of it, in the thick of the conflict, blah blah blah. But let's use this new moon in Gemini in a little bit of a tiny bit of a more optimistic placement, with a little bit of more optimistic tiny bit aspects to it, and let's do our best with this. New moons in general, before the new moon comes in, usually it means that the areas I'm going to do the rapid fire for you as a sign, usually something before the new moon either leaves or is required to let go of, in order for after the new moon for it to start anew, or something new comes to or for it, or in the place of it, sorry. And we're also talking about Gemini, which is a mutable sign. So when we're talking about Gemini as a mutable sign, it can be, you know, changes in something that is already there, meaning, let's say it's a business thing. Gemini, very much a business oriented sign. So let's say it's a business thing. It doesn't mean you need to let go of that business entirely, but it might mean that you're needing to let go of some part of that business, or change some part of that business in order for it to work better. And those changes can be implemented after the new moon, which is on the 30th of May, depending on a little bit where you are. So rapid fire, let's start with, we can start with Pisces this time. So Pisces has the new moon 1, 2, 3, 4 in their 4th house, which is new beginnings with home, family, mother figure, most often mother figure, sometimes the father. Relocation can be there in the case, maybe something with the home, needing to let go of something emotional, because it's a emotional security house as well. So you might need to let go of something that you thought brought you emotional security, but now turns out maybe not. And after the new moon, something else will come in its place. Aquarius, 5th house, business projects, creative projects, romance, romantic partners. Maybe somebody's leaving, new romantic partner coming in, a good time for that. Or something needs to be changed in how you relate to children, for example, as well. Or how you express yourself even. New ways of expressing yourself. A Capricorn, 6th house, all about work and routines and diet. And this is, I really love when a new moon is in the 6th house, because before that time you can really let go of some sort of imbalanced situation in your life, or some sort of addiction, or maybe even some sort of diet that isn't working, some sort of routine that is not working. And after the new moon you can bring in the right ones, the really good ones that are actually working, the better ones. You can make them better. Even in this case, you can even make those routines and stuff better. And new beginnings would work as well. For Sagittarius in the 7th house, so it's all about partnerships and relationships, deals and sales, and being in public spaces. Very often when I see a new moon in 7th house, it's like something in a relationship needs to shift. It can mean like a relationship needs to move to a new level, or some part of that relationship needs to be let go of, so that the two of you, because 7th house is one-on-one relationship, so that two of you can actually move to a new level. So be prepared for that. A lot of talking, a lot of communicating with each other there. What are we talking now? We're talking about Scorpio. Yeah, Scorpio, 8th house. I mean, Scorpio, the 8th house. You know, one manifestation here is, you know, a very practical one is maybe a client decides they don't really want to work with you anymore, or maybe, you know, some things with the taxes come to light, some things with insurance come to light. But, you know, if something leaves right now, or something needs to be changed for the better, it's you know, it's kind of like the energy is there, so make it better. If somebody leaves, if a client leaves, for example, new one definitely will come, and that will trigger you into, you know, changing your business or matters how you deal there better as well. From a deeper perspective, it's always a good time to release something. Like 8th house is related to wounds, or deepest wounds, so it can be a good time to release some of those wounds and heal, and then begin anew. Or again, a sexual house, new beginnings in sexual expression there. Whatever, Libras, Libras 9th house. So for you Libras, it's new beginnings with foreigners, with things you're learning about, the higher consciousness. Definitely a good time to pick up messages, and after the new moon, definitely good time to start either teaching matters or starting to learn a new course, starting to, you know, very left brainy kind of. But this is for Libras, it's a strange one, because the left brainy Gemini is in a more right brainy, higher minded, spiritual 9th house. So you can even start things that are more combined in those areas, and start a course, for example, putting those two together. Virgos, it's 10th house, so all about career, job, mission. No, what I've seen in 10th house new moons, especially, we're talking about Gemini, it's a little bit different, because it can be already in a work project that's already ongoing. So what I mean by that is very often a project can leave even at work before a new moon, and after the new moon they decide, okay, let's bring it still in and make some changes and start anew. This is a very, very common, let's say, manifestation of this, and it can happen in your own business obviously as well. Leos, so Leos, you have it in the 11th house, which is all about future goals, dreams, practical goals, friends and friendships, social circles. And you're going to definitely be energized in some sort of goal that is more of like a long-term goal. So you're going to be reevaluating before the new moon. It's like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And maybe something a little bit leaves there, and you're going to go, I'm going to do this instead. And then after the new moon, you're going to go more full throttle ahead, or full speed ahead, towards your dreams and goals again. We're talking about Cancer now. 12th house new moons is interesting. Always a good time to pick up information from your subconscious, from your dreams. And looking at it can a little bit wipe you out in a way of, oh my god, I need to rest a little bit. Definitely new moon in the 12th house can do that more so than for maybe some of the other signs. And you're going to need to take a little bit of a step back and rest there behind the scenes, recover, regroup, do your meditation practices, do your kind of like resting practices there, and release things from your subconscious, pick up messages from the deep. Gemini, for you it's in the 1st house. I mean, it's like a familiar path has ended or needs to be changed a little bit in your life in general, but new beginnings coming after that. And I also see this whenever there's a new moon in the first house. It can sometimes be leading up to it, or like during even the new moon. It can dial down the energy, almost like force you to rest, because again, the cycle has ended, and now a new cycle is at the almost beginning stages, but it's not quite there. So you need to take a moment, reevaluate, let go of some of things, make some things better, and then start anew after the new moon, and the energy will return. So new changes in general, in all areas of your life. Now, the last two, Taurus. Did I say Taurus? Are we in Taurus?
Just did Gemini.
I was like rapid firing away. I think I did like Cancer. I think I did wrong house. Did I do Cancer?
You did Cancer, yeah.
But I think Cancer is in the second house. Yeah, Cancer is, sorry, Cancers.
Yeah, you said the 12th house, I think, for Cancer.
Oh my God, I'm so confused. Mercury retrograde. I'm going to blame it on Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, yep. It's a good thing to blame things on. Mercury and Gatorade.
Mercury Gatorade. It's Mercury Gatorade.
I think we should always start with Aries.
Everything is good. No.
Everything's good.
It freaking confuses me.
We should always start with Aries. Like, just don't worry about me, okay? I'm a Pisces, I'm fine with being last.
At least everything is as good right now, and all the predictions I did was for the right houses. Mercury Gatorade. But so Tauruses. Sorry for me confusing myself. Taurus, your new moon is happening in the second house, which is a financial house. It's a weird one in the second house, a new moon, because before that coming in, it can become a little bit uncomfortable, something leaving with finances, maybe an income stream, or a little bit of here needs some shifting and changing. Maybe something needs to be let go of. Maybe you need to buy something, you need to let go of something financially, in a sense. But usually after the new moon, you're kind of like, okay, I've reevaluated this. Maybe I want to make more money, and I need to find ways to do that. This is very often what I see with the second house. Okay, how do I make more? How do I create more? Just warning you that a little bit of that uncomfortable feeling during and before the new moon can come in for you Tauruses, about finances and material possessions and investments and such. For Aries, the last one in this case, I know you don't like that one, but you're going to have it in the third house. So a lot of trips, a lot of short trips for you, a lot of business activity, a lot of communication, a lot of talking, speaking, communicating with others in webinars and online communication, business activity. And maybe on a deeper note, you're going to be looking at some of the thought patterns you have. And like again, what I've noticed during new moons in the third house, it's like it can get a little bit negative. The thoughts can get a little bit negative during and before the new moon. It's like almost like, oh, what am I thinking? What are the thought patterns? Need to let go of some of them and start anew after the new moon. Yeah, I think that's it. Rapid fire.
Nice.
Mercury Gatorade. God, I love
Mercury
that.
Gatorade.
That meme I do know,
again.
and I love that meme.
It makes me laugh so much. Like, whenever people are like, oh, I don't believe in astrology, I'm like, that's like
Observe Mercury Gatorade.
Like, like it's not really something to believe in or not. It's happening. It's like gravity. Oh, I don't believe in gravity. Well,
that sucks because
throw something up in the air then, buddy, because that shit's coming back down.
Guys, yeah, observe this. I mean, even like our rapid fires you can take because because this week Mercury is coming out of Gatorade. So basically you can go you can go back and look at our Mercury retrograde predictions.
Recordings.
I think, yeah, like rapid fire predictions, something. You can look at them by sign, and you can just see. Obviously, I didn't do a very deep one, but even like those short, you're most likely a high percentage that you did deal with some of those matters or some of those areas that we mentioned in that video. I think we did it like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, something like that. And it was keeping in mind these are general predictions,
very general,
very general for the whole, for all of everyone who has that sign. It's nearly impossible to make it specific.
Go look at your ascendant, sun, and moon. These are the most important.
Is that what like what do you look at most? Do you look at your ascendant first, or
ascendant first, mostly? Sun and moon then after a little bit?
Yeah, I generally just know it's going to be emotional.
On planet Earth, I think most things are pretty darn emotional.
Yes. And we are becoming the masters of our minds. We are freeing ourselves. We are not allowing our minds to be the master of us. We are the cosmic adults.
Guaranteed.
That would be the movie, right?
The Cosmic Adults, the movie?
Yeah.
It's like Space Jam.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, so funny. Cool. Thanks. Thanks for that.
Cosmic Adults ending, I guess.
We hope you found everything to be useful, informative. If you're the guy that I went on the date with, I'm sorry.
Just like, the digital age. Yeah, I mean that's a new reality where we're living in, and people have to adjust. That's it.
You have to adjust. You have to become a little bit tougher, I think. And we hope that you found everything to be helpful and useful. Follow on Instagram if you want more detailed stuff about the weekly guidance. And yeah, interact with us. We want to know what your thoughts are.
We know what your thoughts are. Okay. Just let you. Just wanted a little bit of drama.
Yeah, just sprinkle it in there. Okay, have the best week ever, everyone. Ever.
Bye, guys.
Even though it's hard, have the best week ever. Bye.